In the old days, in old Hawaii, they had two different kinds of storytelling. One was mo'olelo. This word right here, mo'olelo. And mo'olelo is made up of two words. One is a word that means lizard, actually. It's part of the word for the backbone, and it has to do with something that goes along in a linear fashion. And olelo is the language, or to speak the language. And so mo'olelo was a type of story that had to do with history, genealogy, or if you were simply telling somebody what happened on a particular event, a narrative, it's called. So that was one type. And the person who told that was the ha'i mo'olelo, which simply means the one who tells the genealogy, or the one who tells the history. Now that kind of story, and this is where you may have heard things like that, that kind of story had to be accurate. And that had to be, when it was chanted, all the words had to be correct. It was a very serious thing, that the memory had to be fantastic so that you got all the facts right and everything in the proper order. That was very important. But there was a second type of story called ka'au. Now ka'au comes from two words also. Ka'a, which means a tale or a legend, okay? And au, which means a thought or to enlighten or teach someone. So these were the teaching stories. And so ka'au refers to fiction and fantasy and legends and myths. And these were used for teaching purposes. Two distinct types. The one who told the story was mako. And mako is another one that has, made of two words. One which is ma, which means desire. And let's see, there was another aspect of mako, which also means a kukui lamp. The kind of lamp they used to use, made of kukui oil, which was a bowl of stone with a kukui oil or some kukui nuts stuck in it. And they would use that for a lamp at night. And it means something that gives light. Okay, so the teacher or the storyteller was called mako. Okay, the one who gives light. And when they told these stories, they were of lots of different things. And these stories could change on all the islands. Here in Hawaii, we have Maui stories from every island. And on all the major islands, that's where Maui was born. And they all tell little different stories. Maui was born also in the South Pacific in a lot of different places. And Maui was the most famous figure, male figure, in all of Polynesia. You'll hear a little later about the most famous female figure. But Maui was the most famous male, so that's why I'm going to tell you the Maui stories. They were always used for teaching. Now, when we say Maui, there's two Mauis. One is the island, and the island is called Maui, if you want to pronounce it correctly. But the hero is called Maui, with a little bit of length on the A. So there's a difference. The island is not named after the hero. Okay? Two different words. Okay? Now, Maui, the hero, in New Zealand, he's called Maui Tiki Tiki. And there's an equivalent word in Hawaiian, which is ki'i ki'i. And sometimes he's called Maui ki'i ki'i in some of the Hawaiian legends. And when we use it in Hawaiian, with that word, it means Maui the hero. But most often he's called Maui kupua. And kupua is a word that means trickster, demigod. It can mean hero, magician, or shaman. So Maui is a shaman. and one of the oldest of the shaman figures and the oldest legendary figure in all of Hawaii and all of the Pacific. Now, some of the things that Maui did, which were sort of shamanic in nature, he spent a lot of time saving, helping, or healing people. He spent a lot of time traveling to other worlds, where he would either do healing or he would bring back knowledge. Maui, in some of the stories, brought back the knowledge of cultivation from the world of spirit. Maui brought back the secret of making rope. He brought back the secret that I'm going to keep a secret because we have a story about it. He brought back other secrets too that we'll tell about in a few minutes. But things that were intended to help humankind. And Maui played tricks. But he played tricks on either arrogant humans or arrogant gods. When they started to get too full of themselves, Maui would play a trick to bring them down. One of the interesting things is that Maui loved puzzles. The Hawaiians of old, they loved the kinds of puzzles that you had to figure out. Like they would come up with a statement that said, your well of spring in the air. And then you were supposed to guess what that was. Anybody know? She knows. What? No. Your well of spring water in the air is a coconut. Okay? And so these are the kinds of little puzzles, and Maui loved to solve those. And Maui also did string figures. As string figures were used in old Hawaii, lots of different kinds. There are over 150 of them in Hawaiian Islands alone. Some say more than anywhere else. And they were used for storytelling, among other things. Now, when Maui went on an adventure, he'd go into danger. And the stories are very interesting because sometimes he'd go into danger and he'd go through things and he'd get trapped and caught. So some of the stories make fun of Maui. And I don't think we're going to be doing those today, but some of them do. So there are other times, however, when Maui would go into danger and he'd get free. Okay? So most of the time he did very well. All right? But I just want to let you know that string figures were part of what Maui used and part of the storytelling method in the old days.